Another wild Friday night around the NBA as the Detroit Pistons snapped the New York Knicks 8-game win streak. We're going to talk about that and all the games from NBA Friday night on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night. Remember the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. I'm Haize, one of the hosts of Locked On Bulls. I'm joined this Friday night by Gavin, one of the hosts of Locked On Knicks. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm totally not emotionally broken by the Detroit Pistons. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, man. It's funny. We're going to start right off with that game and your team, man. Before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Well, the Detroit Pistons snap your win streak, man. How are you feeling about this game?
Feel okay. Obviously, the Knicks were missing Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Deuce McBride. Arguably, the way Deuce has played this year, 3 of their 4 best players. Probably exhausted from that double overtime win over the Denver Nuggets, both emotionally and physically. But you know what? Detroit was playing a back-to-back. They didn't have Jalen Brunson, and this was not the first time this season that has happened, right? They played about like 3 weeks, a month ago. That was a 29-point game. This was a 38-point game. Averaged that out 33.5 points per game. The Detroit Pistons are beating the New York Knicks by, and 2 times they've come out, and maybe there was a level of desperation. Knicks were coming off arguably their best win of the year. Pistons were coming off far and away their worst loss of the year, right? Losing to an undermanned Wizards team. Certainly the motivation was there. You go back to the first game, the motivation was there from the playoff series last year. Like, Detroit has treated these like finals games, like they want to send a message, like they want to bully the Knicks into absolute submission. And the Knicks have been sort of laissez-faire about these matchups and have had tired legs and have had Jalen Brunson in this game go 4 for 20, partially because he was exhausted, partially because Sar Thompson put together one of the best defensive performances I have ever seen in a regular season NBA game. He was extraordinary. So these games are all about how you want to view them. And if you want to take this as like, all right, Detroit just has a leg up on the Knicks and it's a terrible matchup for them. If you want to take it as the Knicks cannot get to their best lineups against the Pistons, and cannot get to their spacing lineups against the Pistons that are actually going to make things tough on Detroit, you could look at it that way too.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to like Dennis Jenkins, 18 points in this game, and he's just had a crazy season. It's been amazing to see the season that he's had. The Detroit Pistons have just been so good on offense, so good on defense. What they did tonight, even without Jalen Brunson in the game, I think is special. But because at this point now, of course, we kind of know what teams are going to be in the playoffs. These are 2 teams that may face off in the second round, depending on how it shakes out. May not be to the Eastern Conference Finals. What is your confidence level for the Knicks against the Detroit Pistons if the playoff series were to start now?
It's pretty confident, or it's a pretty high level of confidence if Mike Brown does not coach like Tom Thibodeau. I mean, last year, Detroit, hyper physical, wanted to take that series to the muck, and Tom Thibodeau just started doing like a slow clap. It was like, all right, let's go. This is how I want to play. And that was a terrible strategy. And the Knicks only got out of it because Jalen Brunson was consistently the best player on the floor in the final few minutes of those games, because they got a game 2 from Cat where he had like some of the best tough shot making like I've ever seen from a guy in a playoff game. They had really high level defensive efforts, but they absolutely like allowed Detroit to dictate the terms of engagement. And if the Knicks do that this year, I don't think they'll get as lucky, because Detroit is like a year stronger, a year meaner, a year more physical. Cade Cunningham, the turnovers were such an issue for him in the series last year. He's cut down on them pretty dramatically this regular season. They're deeper, to your point on Dennis Jenkins. I mean, he's torched the Knicks twice in these games. They added more shooting with Duncan Robinson, with Kevin Huerter. Like, they're a better version of the same team. And I think the Knicks can find ways to attack them defensively if they lean into 5-out spacing. And this has been an issue all season long for Mike Brown, just like it was under Tom Thibodeau, continuing to play a starting lineup that has been a little bit better of late, but is still by and large mediocre on the season. And last season was a net negative after the All-Star break. Tonight, obviously, he gets a mulligan. You don't have Cat. You don't have OG. You can't get to 5 shooters. Deuce McBride is out potentially up until the start of the playoffs. So there's some question about whether he'll be healthy enough to start. But I think if the Knicks lean into 5-out lineups, even with how good Detroit's defense is, it's very hard to guard Cat with that kind of space. They like to throw extra bodies at Brunson, even with the Sar Thompson, you can make that trickier if there are better shooters to recover to. If there's Mitchell Robinson diving to the rim with 4 guys around him, like there are definitely ways the Knicks can poke at Detroit. And we still have to see like the Pistons offense fully translate, right? 27th in the NBA, I believe, in made threes per game. Like even with Herter, with Robinson, this is a team that is bereft of high level shooting. And I think in the playoffs, that can hurt them even more. But again, if the Knicks try to play their style, try to out physical them, Detroit is winning that every time. And they're an exceptionally good team.
Yeah, Detroit's really good. Especially like making the step that they've made over the last couple of years from where they were when they won 14 games in the season, and now where they are leading the Eastern Conference. Really good. They proved a lot in the regular season. Playoffs are a little bit different. We'll see what they can do. But let's go to the second game on the night. The Bucks get a win over the Pacers here, 105-99. We do have a short here from Tony East, one of the hosts of Locked On Pacers. Let's go ahead and play that now.
With Locked On Pacers on the court, a 5-serve form where the Pacers just lost the Bucks. As you see up there, 105-99. Really strange game. Pacers started very well. Their offense looked good-ish for the first part of the first quarter, and then just died. They could not score for much of the next 2.5 quarters. 18 in the second quarter, 18 in the third quarter. As the Bucks really ran ahead with this, they got up as much as 20 at one point in the fourth. And the Pacers did find a groove late. Andrew Nembhard was told to lean forward a little more on his jumpers. He made 3 threes in a row. Their small ball lineup that's been so successful of late got on the floor and really got going. 15-0 run from the Pacers. Made this one very close late. The Bucks actually had to hold the Pacers off, but they did just enough when it came to scoring. Bucks were very good on the glass compared to the Pacers in this game. And the Pacers, of course, traded away 2 players and did not have the guys they received in that trade for this game. So shorthanded, injured, and couldn't score. A recipe for a loss, and they get one against the Bucks here in 5-star form. We'll have much more in the game on Locked On Pacers.
Pacers did make that trade for Zubac, which I think is a great trade for the future of that team when Tyrese Haliburton comes back. We know they weren't going to be winning a lot this season, but this loss to the Bucks they have today, Ryan Rollins, 22 points, Bobby Portis, 21 points as well. How you feeling, Gavin?
Yeah, this was an interesting game. Milwaukee was, I mean, Tony mentioned obviously they're hurt, they're small right now. Milwaukee was able to make them pay on the glass. My guy, once Nick Jericho, 15 rebounds in this one. Him and Miles Turner combined for 25 total rebounds. They had to out rebound Indiana by 11 in total, 17-8 edge in second chance points. And to me, that's kind of the style. And like, look, against a lot of teams, it's not going to work, but Milwaukee just kind of has to lean into big ball right now. They don't have a ton of shooting like Kevin Porter Jr. Ryan Rollins obviously can give you that in spurts, but they're more like kind of like crafty, get to the basket kind of guys. And you play that game where it's a lot of inside basketball, a lot of putbacks, and they were able to figure it out against the Indiana team that is about as susceptible to bully ball as any team in the league right now. As soon as Ivica Zubac returns, that is going to change because he's an antidote to all that, right? Elite rim protector, high-level rebounder, just physically imposing, carves out space everywhere he goes. I'm curious to see, to your point, how that looks stylistically with Tyrese Haliburton, who's like superpower, right, is playing out of the advantages that 5-out creates and just cracking like the smallest bit of space and exposing it with like the most preemptive passing in the NBA. I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but the way Zubac will solidify their presence around the rim on both ends, I think is to your point, really, really exciting for them. In Indiana, man, they've just been cursed by injuries this year. Can you believe they have less wins than the Nets? Like that just blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, like I do the daily version as well of Locked On NBA. Me and Matt Moore went back and forth all offseason of who was going to be worse this season, the Boston Celtics and Indiana Pacers. And I was like, there's no way the Pacers are going to be good this year. There's just no way they're going to be good this year. Tyrese Haliburton was so important to what they were doing and losing out on Miles Turner as well. But the future's bright. I mean, once Haliburton comes back next season, they're going to really disrupt the East, I think, as well. And the team that they faced off against the Bucks, man, they got some big questions to answer in the offseason. Where do you stand on the Giannis thing? Do you think Giannis is going to end up staying in Milwaukee?
No. I mean, I don't know. But it's hard to tell, right? Because he's incredibly wishy-washy, and I love Giannis both as a personality and as a basketball player. Like the quotes he gave to, I believe it was like Eric Nem of The Athletic, were heartwarming, right? He talked about how his mom like lives like literally next to him, and how his 4 kids all have Milwaukee on their passports, right? It's clear he loves the city. It's clear he doesn't want to leave, but you don't get to like every summer, like be like, it'd kind of be nice if they don't give me help. And Milwaukee, to their credit, I mean, they've traded all the picks, right? They went all in for Dame. Before that, they went all in for Drew Holiday. Like they've done what they're supposed to. Not that those moves haven't always worked out. Some of that was just poor injury luck. Some of that was trading for the wrong guys, Kyle Kuzma. Some of that was just the tertiary pieces getting old on a championship team and Giannis getting hurt. each of the last two postseasons, right? It hasn't been all within their control. But at a certain point, right, it's crap or get off the pot. Like, I think he has to, like, and he tried to spin it when he wasn't traded. He was like, I can't remember the full quote, but it was like talent draws talent. Talent doesn't seek talent out or something like that. It's like, all right, dude, but then stick with that. Like, I don't want it. We've heard 4 different versions of he's not requesting a trade, but he kind of would like to get out of Milwaukee. Like, I just need the guy to commit. I ultimately don't think he will because there's not, like, I know Milwaukee will access more picks to trade this summer. I don't see any world where this team turns into a contender overnight, especially when they're still paying off that Damian Lillard money for each of the next 4 seasons.
That's a big point there as well. So yeah, great points there. We're gonna hop in, continue the conversation. We're gonna get into the Blazers, get a win over the Grizzlies here. We're gonna talk about that right after this. The season is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag, and with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. Those late-night interviews hit, and suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared, snacks, cups, and even a phone charger for friends who are always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. Also got to talk to you guys about another one of our sponsors, and that is Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest ways to upgrades that you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your computer or phone, and you can keep your existing number. Add Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo's the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. We're Locked On Game Night coming up next. One of my favorite teams to talk about, Gavin, is the Portland Trailblazers. This has been a fun story this year. They were in a 6-game losing streak before this game. They get a win here, 135-115 over the Memphis Grizzlies. Jeremy Grant scores 23 points. Jrue Holiday, 20 points in this one. How you feeling about the Blazers this season?
Yeah, this is a wild game. Grizzlies were up by 15 in the first half. Blazers, I believe, led by as many as 30, if I saw that correctly, in the second half. To your point, like, they're interesting and they're earnest in a fun way, where so many teams in the West are just blatantly tanking. Like they cannot not be the 10 seed because every team behind them is actively trying to lose games. Like, it would take a miracle in a bad way for them to not be the 10 seed. And they're this fun roster where, like, everyone they play is, like, pretty competent across the board. Like, 4 of the 5 guys in their starting lineup have at least 13 points in this game. Jrue Holiday obviously missed a lot of time, but he's quietly just having an awesome season, like, continues to just defy, like, normal aging in the NBA, like we've seen from so many guards in the last couple of years. Like, he's certainly in that category. 20 points, 7 assists, 5 boards in this one. Donovan Clingan, I got to broadcast one of his games when he was in high school, and the other team had no one taller than 6'5", so you could imagine that when, like, the dude is just one of the most physically imposing basketball players I have ever seen. And, like, there are nights where, like, it doesn't look right for him, and the nights like this one where he gets 17 rebounds and 7 offensive boards, and you see, like, a future, like, all-star there. Like, he's so physically dominant. Tamani Kamara, like, the type of two-way wing. Every team in the league wants Jeremy Grant in and out of the lineup. No one wanted to trade for him, but having a sneaky good offensive season, then they have tons of depth. I mean, they're dealing with the whole Caleb Love thing, right, where they're going to have to convert him do a standard contract at some point, but he's had an amazing season. They'll get Dame back next year. Like, fun team, fun roster. Obviously, I don't even mention the headliner, Denny Avdia, who's still out with that back injury. And against the Memphis team that obviously has traded away so much and is openly tanking, like, you're going to see a lot of games like this where Memphis goes up by a lot and they can't sustain it, or they don't want to sustain it, and Portland able to take advantage.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Grizzlies. Like, they're in this transitional period where definitely think Dame is. Not Dame. Ja is going to probably be traded this offseason. Now they're going forward, building around Cedric Howard and Zach Edey. So good luck to them on that one. But the Blazers are just they're this team that you see a couple. They have these stretches where they look really, really good, and you can see, like, hey, maybe they will make the playoffs this year. And then they have those stretches where you could just tell they're just a young team still learning how to win, and they just, like, sometimes they can't get over that hump. They were able to do it today against another team that's kind of in disarray, but I don't never know how to feel about the Blazers. Like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, they can make it out the play-in. Sometimes I think not. I guess we'll just see where it shakes out for them.
They've had some incredible wins this year. I mean, they're kind of giant slayers, right? They were the only team to beat Oklahoma City early this year. They beat Denver also in the first 10 games of the season. I believe they beat the Rockets at least once. They beat the Spurs. They beat the Cavs. Like, they've stepped up and played some big games. You see the ceiling there, and also super exciting. The one, I don't want to bury the lead here. Scoot Henderson played his first game in 10 months tonight. Yeah. Like, quiet effort, but I'm really excited. I know Mike Richmond, the Locked On Blazers host, has really advocated for this. Like, given where they are and the cushion they have in the West, like, give that dude a ton of run. Like, he was showing some real promise second half of last year, and on a team that I said has a bunch of good players, but not necessarily like guys you're like, all right, there's like, you have it in Kamara, you maybe have it in Shaedon Sharpe, you probably have it in Avdia, but there aren't like a ton of guys that you're like, they have to be here for the next 10 years. You have to find out by the end of the season if Scoot Henderson is one of those guys.
Yeah, especially before Dame makes his return back next season. And Scoot is a guy that, like, he's a perfect example of why you don't give up on players early, because it's been very rough of a go for Scoot, but he has had those flashes where he shows the potential of why, he was projected to draft where he was drafted at. He just has to be consistent with it. Now that he's back playing basketball, he finished this season strong, hopefully use that as a launching pad into the offseason. You'll just see a much better Scoot Henderson next year for a whole season. Hopefully, like, knock on wood on that one.
100%.
All right, let's get into the next game. And the Clippers here. Kawhi Leonard scores 31 points in this game. The Clippers are another team in transition after trading away Zubac and James Harden. They get some young guards in there. We'll see what that does. I don't know what that means for them the rest of this way of the season. We'll talk about that, of course, in the offseason. But the Clippers get a win here, scoring 114 points. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm so curious. Like, I would love, it'll never happen because he said like 6 words in his whole career, but like a 20-minute interview with Kawhi Leonard right now would hit like crack. Like, that would be crazy. I want to know what's in that guy's head right now. Like, he's I don't know if people know this. He's putting up a career high in points per game, right? Just under 28 points per game, been super efficient. Everyone, the running joke, which unfortunately like is appropriate beyond not even talking about the aspiration stuff, but just that, like, he never stays healthy, right? Like he's been pretty healthy. Like, he was injured earlier in the year. They had that long 1-10, 1-11 stretch, and then they ripped off like the best stretch of basketball in the NBA. I don't think anyone thought they were going to win a championship this year, but I thought it was going to be a fun story that they didn't just gift the Thunder another lottery pick, and instead were a nightmare team for Oklahoma City to play in the first round. And Kawhi hits like a last-second 3 on the road in Game 4, and all of a sudden it's 2-2, and the Thunder are sweating a little bit. I was dying for that, Haize, and instead they're just like, you know what, OKC, why don't you add Darren Peterson next year? Have fun. We're trading away everyone. And to be clear, I understand why they did it. I think it probably is the right move for them long term. I just cannot imagine how that front office, how that coaching staff, not that, look, they've obviously done more than enough for Kawhi Leonard. He can't really complain given some of the stuff that's gone on there financially. But I don't know how you look your superstar in the eye, a guy who like was trying to become the only player to be a finals MVP with 3 different teams and say, hey, we're giving up on any chance of really contending this year, especially after they move on from Ivica Zubac. Yeah,
I mean, and to the credit, like, Kawhi Leonard played, this is 37th game tonight. That's matches total for last season. Like you said, a lot healthier this year for Kawhi Leonard. Hopefully he can finish the season strong. But this is a Clippers team that, like, I'm glad that they picked a path in the direction because, being as old as what they were a talented team. And, they had some big wins, like you pointed out. The championship ceiling wasn't there. We'll see what they do with Kawhi in the offseason. I do think that they have to make a transition. But let's talk about the Kings here. Kings make no moves at the trade deadline, right? They get a loss here. Their rosters completely. I don't know what they're doing. Zach LaVine's going to pick up that option. Domantas Sabonis is still there for now. We'll see what happens with that in the offseason. But I every time the Kings come up, all I can think about is we're only 2 years away, removed from the Light the Beam team, which was like this exciting team that looked like they were going to be up and coming, and it just all came crashing down. The Kings are a perfect example of why if you don't capture your moment in that window for you, it could all be taken away really quick.
I mean, the Kings fans are living in a nightmare. Like I sympathize as a Knicks guy, and it was 2000 to like the Tom Thibodeau era, 2019, or 2001, where Knicks fans went through this, and Kings fans, it's been since 2004. Like they've had 22 years now, and it's even more painful. Like the Knicks version of that was 12-13, where you have that 1 year where everything comes together and there's magic, and it's not even just like a good team. It was such a lovable team, right? Light the Beam. It was the story in the NBA. They set a record for offensive rating that season. Then to your point, like just a couple of wrong moves, and De'Aaron Fox doesn't want to be there anymore, and you lose the face of your franchise who got you through so many of those dark moments, and you're now 12-41, and it's not a 12-41 team where it's like, all right, well, these are young guys taking their lumps, like you just referenced the Detroit Pistons, and in 2 years they're going to be first in the Western Conference. It is guys near the end of their career, near the end of their prime. I know Scott Perry pointed out they haven't had their day one starting lineup all season. Like Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis haven't played a second of basketball this year, but you know what? If you're Sacramento, you got it. I don't have any faith given the ownership situation there, but you have to do it right. Lean into the tank, right? Find a way to get a top 4, top 5, top 6 pick in an absolutely loaded draft, because at least the perception of the next two drafts are not like that. Like if the Kings, we remember them striking out on Luka Doncic 8 years ago, like they cannot afford to miss if they get that top 3, 4, 5 pick, and you get that one building block. Dallas would have been in the situation if they didn't land Cooper Flagg. Like things can turn around very, very quickly, but they have to put themselves in the best position to do so. Losing a close game like tonight, very good thing for the Kings.
Yep, for sure. And we'll see what the future does hold for the Kings. But what the future holds for us is we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics versus Miami Heat game right after this. All right, I got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before NFL Sunday officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing your favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game where everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of NFL Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started, or Locked On NBA Game Night coming up next. Having the Miami Heat, another team that decided to do nothing at the trade deadline, not even cashing in on the Terry Rozier contract, which is a little bit weird to me. But they get a loss here, 98-96 to the Boston Celtics. We do have a short here from John Corrales.
Boston Celtics came back from 22 down in the first half, a disaster first half. How did they do it? I'll tell you, I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast. Yes, the shooting leveled off for sure. Celtics were 1 of 20 from 3 in the first half, and they hit some threes in the second half. But I think the big reason here is they got away from the double bigs. They were playing Luka Garza and Neemias Queta together, bringing Nikola Vucevic off the bench. Makes sense, he just got here. But that double big lineup against Miami, their athleticism, it just wasn't working. And I think when they got away from that in the third quarter, Peyton Pritchard checked in, Vucevic checked in, the game changed completely because Peyton Pritchard started just going nuts. He just took over the game offensively. And then they started to find Vucevic switching onto smaller guys and feeding him in the post. And that really kind of got the Celtics offense going. They went on a huge run, a 25-5 run in the third quarter. And after that, they just stayed single big. And I think that was a big reason. Derek White was amazing, as usual. Overcame really a nightmare first half, but the second half was typical Derek White, hitting shots, playing defense. He had 4 block shots in this game. And that's how you come back from 22 down. Much more on a bonus Locked On Celtics podcast.
74 points combined between Derek White, Jalen Brown, and Peyton Pritchard in this game, combined for 74 points. Just those three players. They only have one other player that scores in double figures in that game. That is Nikola Vucevic, the newly acquired center for the Boston Celtics. So major game for them. Comeback win against the Miami Heat team that's been struggling. How you feeling?
Yeah, I think John nailed it. Like they looked creaky in the first half. Miami, very famously with the new assistant coach Nola LaRoche playing that spread it out, ISO everything, operate under the premise with enough room. Like all of our guys can cook one-on-one, create an advantage, and just play out of those advantages. And if you're Boston and like in a year where Joe Mazzulla has coached as well as anyone in the NBA, like I think a rare mistake to start the game like that against Miami and maybe try to bully them a little bit. Miami still has Bam to anchor that defense, to anchor their rebounding. And you saw Miami just start raining threes during this game. Norman Powell, one of the prettiest jumpers in the NBA, he kept getting free. And it almost reminded me of like the times, sorry to bring everything back to the Knicks, but when the Knicks went Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns against the Pacers last year, and you just put the bigs in the action, right? You run like somewhat intricate sets and like have Norman Powell like popping out of exit screens, and you make the bigs like chase and defend multiple actions, like with the quick hitting nature of Miami's offense. That was really, really painful. And on top of that, Boston, outside of Jalen Brown, couldn't make a shot. And then in the second half, I mean, it wasn't easy, right? Miami, I think by and large played pretty good defense, but Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser start off that run just like isolation jumpers. Derek White, who had an abysmal start shooting, like rains a 26-footer in over Wiggins, and then Pritchard just took over from like the beginning to the end of the fourth. 2 step back jumpers, so good, like almost Jalen Brunson-esque in his ability to play off 2 feet, right? Like get to a spot, pump, step through, layup. I thought Derek White's like the 3 he hit to tie it off 72 off the sideline out of bounds was sick, and then more ISO threes from Pritchard. Like what I think he is the most efficient isolation scorer in the NBA, if not one of the most efficient isolation scorers in the NBA. Jalen Brown made a crazy shot with like 3 minutes left, like fadeaway banker with the shot clock expiring. I thought Nikola Vucevic was really helpful for them. Like we know defensively is going to be where the issues crop up, but offensively, absolutely, his ability, like much like Kristaps Porzingis, right? Boston's guards are so good, pulling you out. You have to switch because they're great shooters, right? You can't give them the quick 3, just playing peekaboo around the screen. You switch. Vucevic, unlike Cade, Garza can sort of do this, but Vucevic is better at getting a switch, getting a guard on him, sealing, creating a big target. You have Derek White at 6'5", so good. Throw it over the top, and Vucevic got layup after layup. And then you see like the playmaking from Vucevic, where Jalen Brown late in this game draws 2, sprays it out to him, and 2 guys are closing out on Vucevic, and he is like a 35-year-old big, is able to split it, spray it to the corner. Derek White hits what is ultimately the decisive 3 that puts Boston up to win this game. Like that is a new element against smart teams. They're going to target him. They're going to put him in the action relentlessly. He's going to have to hold up better than he did in Chicago. I'm talking to the expert, Haize. You tell me, but I think he's a good addition for this team.
Yeah, he's going to be good for them. I think, they have the defensive system around him. The problem with Vooch is that, he can basically only play drop coverage, but I think they have the perimeter defenders that are going to be able to help him. That's what Chicago really lacked most of his time here in Chicago. So I think Vooch is going to be really good for them. He's just going to have to fill it out. Vooch is one of those players that his game can really fit with just about anyone, but it takes time for him to learn how to play off people. But with him and his passing interior wise for like Derek White and Peyton Pritchard on the perimeter, it could be very dangerous for Boston, especially in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with KP last year, they were functionally unguardable. He's not nearly the same guy defensively, offensively, maybe not quite like the ultra deep shooting range, but he gives you a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Last game on the docket tonight, the New Orleans Pelicans get a win 119-105 over the Minnesota Timberwolves here. Let's go to this short from Jake.
Pelicans get a surprise victory, 119-115 over the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it's the rookie that's kind of the biggest story in this one. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. Yes, Saddiq Bey led the team with 30 points. You had a good scoring game from Zion Williamson, 29 points, 26 for Trey Murphy, but it's Derek Queen that really surprised me in this one, and the stat line is 4 for 4 from 3. If the rookie big man can become a knockdown shooter or even some sort of floor spacing 4-5, whatever position you think he is, that really kind of changes building around him and what this roster could look like in the future. Really great performance en route to 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists as well, not one single turnover. Great performance from the rookie along with everybody else here, really ratcheting up the effort in the second half of this one to overcome an 8-point deficit. Good win for the Pelicans. I got more over at Locked On Pelicans.
Derek Queen has been such a revelation. I know that they gave up a lot for him, and that pick it's still going to be a very good pick for the Atlanta Hawks this upcoming draft. But I look at it this way, like the Pelicans are so interesting because I think they both won and lost that trade because they got a great talent, but they still gave up a pick that's going to be crazy in this draft. How do you feel about Derek Queen's performance and Zion in this game for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, he'd only made 10 threes all season, right? And then he goes 4 for 4 in this one. And this is almost the game he most needed. Rudy Gobert still like this side of Victor Wembanyama, like the most intimidating rim protector in the NBA. And you're able to pull him out a little bit, challenge him. I mean, it made it more effective when Queen was screening for Zion. Like that won them the game, basically. Zion was, I know sometimes like, I think the discourse with Zion, and I understand it's like the quote unquote smart take. It really leans into like, yeah, he's not the same guy athletically he was a few years ago. Like he's never going to be totally committed defensively, totally committed to getting back. His rebounding numbers, just for someone with like his jumping ability and how strong he is and how big he is, just inexplicably that he's like 6 per game for his career, crazy low. And sometimes I just fall back on like, yeah, but like there's very few guys I enjoy watching play basketball more than Zion Williamson. Like there's a reason he was the most popular college basketball player. And like, I'm probably forgetting some people, but seemingly in the last 10 years, 15 years, like the dude is just like, you plant someone in the crowd who's never watched basketball before. They're going to watch Zion Williamson for 5 minutes and say, hey, is that the greatest player of all time? Like his ability to just like go up against Rudy Gobert, like two titans. Like you could put like a display of that in the Naismith Hall of Fame, just two freaks of nature, like jumping, and Zion's like craft to like bump him out and just finish over him. He had this like crazy drive and spin and like high arcing lefty lay where like he defies gravity in a way at his size I've never seen from someone before. It just looks like he's coming off a trampoline. Had the game-winning bucket, 3-point play going right by Julius Randle, and then fighting through Gobert, fouling him to lay it in, put this one away. Bryce McGowan had some big plays late. Sadiq Bey finishes one with 30 points. Just such a crafty scorer. His ability to like just sneak an arm around Julius Randle and like fight him with like bumps and like just like little like footwork and like handwork subtleties, because Julius is actually like a pretty good defender in space. Trey Murphy, 2 huge threes to end the third to cut to 430-footer, then a 25-footer, like so effortless. Like, I mean, you see the talent on this Pelicans team all the time. They have sucked Haize all year in clutch games, 10 and 20 in clutch games. That was the second worst winning percentage in the NBA coming into tonight. They just traded their heart and soul in Jose Alvarado, and in another depressing season in New Orleans. This was a really cool moment, I thought.
Yeah, great game for them, fun game for them to get this win. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who don't have their new addition of Ayo Dosunmu yet in this game, I think they're going to be really good with him. I think he's going to be a really good backcourt mate with Anthony Edwards. I can't wait to see that one. But anything left, Gavin, before we close out for today?
No, just I agree with you. I'm excited. He's you know better than I do, but Ayo's been sick this year. Insane game he had against Miami. He like such a clean replacement for what they lost when Nickeil Alexander-Walker was gone. They've been missing it all season. They needed some secondary ball handling. I know he talked about how he feels like similar to Vooch, like playing with even better talent is going to bring out different elements of his game. So I'm super excited to see them at full health.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, but we're going to be able to talk about it more here on Locked On NBA game night on Fridays. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, and Fubo TV. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.